Here we go. We're live. Jesse, welcome back, sir.
Thank you very much. Happy
So,
to be back.
right. So last time we spoke, you had, I think, less than 5,000 subscribers. Now you have close to 40. And as
Yeah.
we discussed, we're gonna continue kind of follow your journey a little bit and catch up every once in a while to see how things were going and how you get where you are. Because it's been impressive. It's like it's one thing to see somebody who already blew up, who's very well known, and hear their story, and the second thing to follow somebody from the very beginning, which is fun. And I'm even watching the comments under your videos. A lot of your watchers, your subscribers, are in this journey. Like they really rooting for you, which is pretty impressive, man.
Thank you. Yeah, I mean I'm extremely grateful to the guys that have been watching from the beginning, you and everybody else. But the hopefully the reason that people feel that way is because of kind of my intentional approach to the channel, which is I literally just imagine that the camera is a room full of my best friends. That's exactly how I try to do. I try to act like I'm just talking to four or five of my buddies that I would say basically anything in front of in the exact way that I would say it in front of them. And I just assume, that people will connect with that. That's basically one of my biggest beliefs in the world is that people connect with genuine behavior from people more than any other thing. Like I don't think that there's anything else that people respond better to than being able to tell that someone's giving you their real self. So that's what I try to do.
So do you like on your MMA channel? There is not a lot of controversial stuff, let's just say. But Jesse, on everything you sometimes you kind of push your envelope a little, and I'm
Mm-hmm.
kind of thinking like, hey, do you worry about this cancel culture that you might get canceled for this stuff?
No, and the reason why is because cancel culture it only comes for people who are playing the game. I'm not playing. So I mean, and if I mean, listen, like if I said something that I ended up genuinely regretting, I would apologize for that. But I would apologize because I regretted saying it. Like I will never apologize for saying something that I believe to be true that didn't somehow directly, hurt a person or whatnot. Like as an example, I was talking yesterday in my on the channel about John Jones and the statements that he made, and I basically, I mean, listen, like when I filmed, I did the video and it was about, he did the statements. He wants to clean up his life and all that. And I filmed that video assuming John Jones would watch it. Now, whether he will or won't, it doesn't matter. Like that's how I filmed. I filmed that video for John Jones. And so I did it from a perspective of like, if you want to clean your life up, you can, like you can. And, but the one part where I kind of called him out was the tweet that he sent where it was like, my life hasn't always been rosy. I got molested as a kid. My mom I lost my mom and my brother really at an early age. I have some things to work out. And that was the only part that I was like, and I pushed back on that and said, I didn't say it was bullshit from him. What I said was, if it was me saying that, it would have been bullshit. And I didn't do a good enough job explaining why I was saying that. I realized afterwards, because what I meant was that is like the last fig leaf that people who want to clean up hide behind, where it's like, oh, it's because of this happening and that happening. And what you're actually saying is, again, it's not my fault. And the thing is, you don't need a scapegoat. It's not your fault anyway. Like you're just a person and you're wired to like drinking. Like drinking is fun for you. I mean, it's really like honestly not rocket science. Like drinking is a fun activity for you, so you did it a lot. It just turns out that it's not healthy and it ends up being just, destructive in your life. So like you don't need to hide behind childhood trauma. And even if there was some semblance of responsibility on you, which of course there always is, but like it's bullshit. Like it's a bullshit excuse most of the time. And so, and again, I'm not talking about him in particular. I'm saying most of the time when people, like, I know exactly where John Jones is at. I know exactly where he's at. He's at the last fig leaf where he really does want to quit. And so that's the last place to hide behind. And so I said that in the video. And this guy wrote me this long comment about how I don't know shit about, you know, kids who are molested and what it does to their brain. And that's 100% true. Like, I don't. And so, like in that case, I would respond. I responded to the guy. I go, you know what? You're right. I don't know anything about that, actually. All I know is I would kill anybody who even thought those thoughts at my own kids. But anyway, and you know, so like a situation like that, if I thought I said something kind of out of line, I would apologize. But that has nothing to do with cancel culture. That just has to do with like human beings communicating with each other, and then someone pointing out, well, you said this and you don't really know what you're talking about. And you're like, you know what? You're right. I don't know what I'm talking about there. And cancel culture is not based on that at all. Like that is not even in the slightest what cancel culture is based on power. That's all it is just people using this weird set of faux rules to attack people that they don't like. That's all it is. They can make it seem like they're out to, you know, to change the world for the better. It's an absolute, utter, despicable lie. You're just bullies. I despise them, actually. And not because of, I hate, it has nothing to do with their politics. I hate bullies. I hate bullies more than anything in the entire world. I can't stand them. Like people, like bullies make my blood boil. But the reason why I hate them so much is because they're bullies and they're pretending to be the good guys. It's like, if you're a bully and you're a prick and you own it, I still don't like you. But if you're literally destroying people's lives, destroying their lives, and you're telling yourself you're a good person, fuck you, okay? You don't care about that thing that they said. You're just a bully. You're an angry person who doesn't like their own life, and this makes you feel better. Like, there isn't a single thing, there's not 1 ounce of nobility in what these people do. They're the worst people on earth. Like, they're the worst. Now, I understand a lot of them probably, you know, deal with like trauma from their child. Like, I know getting bullied is a nightmare, or feeling insecure sucks, man. You go through school, you feel powerless, and it eats you up. And then all of a sudden you're in the internet world, and someone changed the rules. And now you can destroy a person's life, and you can dogpile on. And that's a very, very seductive thing that they fall into.
That's okay, good summary. Yeah, very passionate about the subject. One thing I've noticed, that's actually, it's originally started on the left, but I started seeing it on the right as well. So it's almost like universal now. So kind of weird thing.
Yeah, it's a non-political thing.
Yeah, let's go back to MMA a little. Mm-hmm. So obviously there is the situation when John Jones has these troubles, and then Violent Bob, right? He's actually had the similar stuff, but he got kicked out from UFC while John Jones wasn't.
Yeah.
What's your take?
You're talking Luis Pena?
Yeah. Violent Bob is his like nickname or whatever.
Oh, yeah. Okay.
I guess he's pretty violent, I guess.
Yeah.
So, what's your take on that? Like, how, like, people would be like, oh, there's double standards, but how do you see it both situations? Is it same thing, and UFC just playing double game, or it's different things for you?
I think it's different. By the way, I guess I should have asked, are we swearing on this thing or not swearing?
I mean, you already set a tone, so.
I mean, but I can scale it back if you don't usually have to swear anyway. But yeah, I don't think they're the same thing. Primarily because this is the first. Okay, so here's the thing. The factors that you have to consider are what happened, what do we actually know for sure, and what is your sample size that you're going to be basing your decision off of, and then of course, what's the value of the specific person? Because John Jones obviously has been given the longest rope of any person ever. It's like, you know, like I said, I mean, when I did that, I've done, I mean, since John Jones got arrested this time, I've done, I think, five videos about him. And the first one, I was very, very empathetic and was just kind of like, we don't know what happened, yada, yada. The next one came out, I was like, geez, man, this guy needs help. Then he put out that stupid statement and I tore him a new asshole. Then I did this most recent one where I was trying to be supportive. But one of the things that I keep forgetting that people just keep putting into the comments is they're like, dude, you're acting like this is a new thing for him. The guy has literally been arrested like 6 or 7 times that we know. Like, think of what he's doing when he doesn't get caught. And it's a valid point.
Yeah.
I just, in his case, he's been in the UFC for a really long time. And what Luis Pena did is insane. Like, if you actually read the report, he pinned a girl on the ground and was smashing her face. He was punching her repeatedly while she's on her back and he's over her. He's a UFC fighter. Like, that's insane. That's a different thing than, I mean, let's say that what happened with John Jones is, I don't even know. Like, because if he would have punched his wife hard, she's going to have a lot worse, injuries than like a bloody lip. Like, it's John Jones, dude. Like, it's just, the guy's a human killing machine. If he really put it on her, one shot, she'd be, I mean, so let's assume that he did something like, let's just go one step below. Let's say he slapped her, right? Like, he just lost it. She's in front of that thing. She's trying to not let him leave the room. And he just completely loses it. And he slaps her to get her out of the way. I mean, that is a reprehensible act, of course. Like, you can't hit girls, man. Like, again, I found myself constantly now talking about unworthy adversaries. And I mean, a girl, they can't defend themselves against you. That's why you can't put hands on a girl, is because they have no ability. It's not like it's a one-sided violent exchange. They can't hurt you. Like, they can't. I mean, if you're John Jones or you're me with my wife, there's nothing she could do. If I decided we were going to fight, she's fucking done. Like, there's nothing she could do. There could be 10 of her and it would make no difference, which is why you can't do it, because it's like the violence will only go one way. Like, you're just inflicting on them and they can't defend themselves. It's no different than beating up a kid. You can't fucking do it. But let's say that John slapped his wife. Unacceptable. And it was like, but let's say that was, I mean, because that was, at least as far, well, who knows what's real, but it's the first time that he's had a public incident with a female. Even if it was a fighter that wasn't as big a deal as John Jones, I'm not sure if that incident would get the guy bounced. Like, what if it was like Mike Perry? I don't think they would kick Mike Perry out for that, just that incident, because all of his other incidents have been him being drunk and driving or him doing dumb stuff. Like, it's never had like a victim on the other end of it, except unless it was an accident, where he gets in an accident, flees the scene. That's still an accident. This is literally the very first time. And you don't even know if he intentionally did it. That's the whole thing. He could have pushed her and her face at the wall. If she's not going to talk about it, you don't know. The fact that you don't know is why it's different. Luis Pena chose to take his wife or girl to the ground and smash her face in. And it's like the third incident like that. He's a mentally unstable guy that's dangerous. Like, it's different. I'm not saying, look at it. And if John Jones fucks up again, I mean, I realize how absurd this sounds given the number of times that he's fucked up, but this time for real, because of the nature of the incident, if this guy gets arrested again, I'm done with him. I'll tell you that for sure. He's come out to the world. I'm ready to get better. He's proclaiming I do believe if he doesn't drink ever again, he will be fine. Like, he'll be fine. Yeah, but if he goes out and gets drunk and does something stupid, I'm done with him, man.
My biggest issue there was like you can doubt stuff, but when his daughter is the one who was trying to call police, for me that was like, yeah, if my son ever tells my wife to call police, that's something is wrong with me. I need something. Yeah, I'm screwed. I mean,
I totally agree with that. But if in terms of thinking through hypotheticals, like his daughters, I think, what's his oldest daughter, like 12 or 13 or something like that. So if you hear your parents screaming at each other and you wake up and the door slams and your dad is gone and your mom is bleeding, like your mom's bleeding out of her face, and you know that something happened with the dad, I mean, you could certainly, you'd be like, call the fucking police, you know, versus, again, the only reason I'm not saying, dude, he might have close fist lit her up. It's totally possible. And like I said, like if I had no experience, you know, dealing with people who really have genuine substance abuse problems, then maybe I would have a different outlook. But I look at this and I just go, my read on John Jones is that he's not this crazy bad person. He's drunk every time something happens, every single time. He's never had a sober incident ever. Never. Every single one of these things, he's drunk.
Well, at least he wasn't caught having sober incident.
Sure. But every single one of the incidents that we know about, he's drunk. And so it's like, this is an inciting incident that it's like, if he can use this and never drink again and get better, then, I mean, it's not like I'll be like, yay, John Jones. It doesn't really affect me. But like, I'll tell you this, if he doesn't, and he keeps on boozing, fuck that guy. I mean, it's just basically where it's at, you know, it's, but I just know, that you know, the substance abuse thing is hard for people, man. Like it's really, really challenging. But and like I said, I mean, I've booze and that's never been a thing for me. But booze is, it's really utterly shocking to me that booze is the thing that's legal when it causes the most damage out of any
I'm
drug.
100% agree with you. I think it's the worst thing that, like, it's one of the worst things that happened to humanity. Like the number of lives destroyed because of booze, directly and indirectly, is just out of this world.
Booze and opioids, but yeah, but for different reasons. Like, but yeah, man, booze. Yeah, I completely understand cultures that are like, no booze. Like that's, it's the devil, man. Like it honestly, like if you looked at the world through that lens, you know, through like a highly religious worldview, that is a statement, that stuff is the devil, I don't think would be even moderately out of place. Like think about like when does a person drink and it improves their life or improves their behavior? Like maybe it makes them a little more friendly, you know, they're a little more relaxed, but you get past that point, a guy is 100 times more likely to hit a girl, 100 times more likely to cheat on his wife, 100 times more likely to drive drunk and hit someone and kill them, 100 times more likely to fall off a cliff. Like every single thing becomes worse when people drink.
Yeah, and not to mention that they kill in their own bodies, which is weird. You know what's funny and kind of sad? In this culture here, booze is so part of the culture. Like I don't drink for the reasons you just described. I just think it's stupid. It's like not religious or anything else. It's just weird that people do that. Every time you go to this networking event and you don't drink or you drink some non-alcoholic stuff, people ask you why you don't drink. And you're like, well, I just don't drink. They look at you like you just admitted that you killed somebody, you know?
It's no, they assume you're like a recovering alcoholic.
Yeah, either that or that you're like a religious lunatic, you know, one of those two things. And which is weird to me, but hey, it is what
I think that's very bizarre too, because I mean, I've gone through long stints without drinking booze, just and not for any other reason than just I just don't like it that much, you know, like I don't like it doesn't make me feel very good. It's not bad, but it's not good. You know, like I've talked about it on the channel. The only substance that's a real like problem for me are opioids. And so I just don't take them. It's as simple as that. Like, you know, you take painkiller, like get Norcos prescribed because of your wisdom teeth, you know, and you're like, wow, whatever this is amazing. And I want more of those. And then you learn the hard way. And then, so you just don't take them.
Do you want to talk a little bit about this, or you prefer not to? So I remember you mentioned that you had that, let's just say you were on opioid a little bit, right? and somehow you were able to
I'm
muscle around.
intimately, yeah, I know opioids very well.
Very well, yeah, yeah.
Yeah.
So how did it start, and like how did you power through that?
Like anything else, that's kind of the point I was making about John Jones and putting it on his childhood or whatever. It's like, I just don't, I mean, I know there are people who have genuine trauma that they're trying to block out, but the reason that people take pills, or the reason they take or they drink or whatever, is because it's uncomfortable for them to be sober. Like it, and you know, whatever the thing is, it makes them more comfortable. The reason why, to your point about people drinking at social events, at these mixers or whatever, is because talking to a bunch of strangers is uncomfortable. It's not, you know, it's like that very first conversation for people, it makes them uncomfortable. That's why if someone is, you know, a single person is going out and they're trying to meet someone new, they get drunk because it's easier to talk to people. It just takes that anxiety away. And that's applies across the board. Like if people, any substance, people are trying to either take a feeling of being uncomfortable away, or create like a nirvana feeling for themselves. And I mean, I remember the first time that I took a Norco, I was like in high school or something. And like,
What was it?
it was a Norco. Like Norcos are like Vicodin, like hydrocodone.
Gotcha.
And I mean, basically that's all my experience is just with Vicodin for the most part, or I mean, almost exclusively. Yeah. And I just remember being like, the only way you can even describe it, if you're wired, if you're, because it's all about brain chemistry. That's the thing is, you know, like when I say I would never take Xanax, like I'm not special. It just it doesn't make me feel, it makes me feel bad. You know, like it doesn't make me feel good at all. Booze, kind of same, you know, weed, kind of the same. But where all those types of pills are off the table for me, it was like, you know, take a Norco and my brain is rattling all the time, and it's exhausting. You take a Norco and it's like you ever have a moment where you just got done with work, you have nothing to do, and you sit down on the couch and you like put on a show, or you open a book and you're like, oh my God, there's literally nothing I would rather be doing than this.
Yeah. Just euphoria, huh?
Imagine just being able to swallow a pill and 10 minutes later, you can have that whenever you want. So that's the thing. I think a lot of it has to do with people who are control freaks. Like if you're really like a person who likes to be in control, that's a very seductive thing, because, you know, okay, I've got this event on Friday. I don't need to worry about what kind of mood I'm going to be in. I know exactly what mood I'm going to be in, because I'm going to take one of those and I'll be in the best mood ever. And so, you know, like I just would take them recreationally whenever I could get them, you know, throughout college. And it was never an issue because you could never get them. You know, you'd be super sporadic when you could get your hands on them. You know, you get enough to take them like maybe 2 nights in a month or something like that at the most. And then when I got out of college, that changed, and I all of a sudden could get as many as I want. And it's unbelievable how quickly a person, and I mean, seriously, anybody who's dabbled around in pills, if you like them, never let yourself, I mean, just as a matter of fact, just don't take them at all. But the majority of those people are one source where they can always get them away from being a full-blown addict 100%. Because that's the only thing that you don't realize it, that's what's protecting you until you get an unlimited supply and you're like, oh, okay. And because it doesn't take very long, you know, that I think the thing for adults that really pushes people over the edge in terms of pills is if they take them at work. It's like if what you're trying to take away is, man, I fucking hate being at work, I'll take a pill. You take a pill and you go to work and all of a sudden work is awesome. That is because a lot of people don't like their jobs, man. Like a lot of people really don't like it. And all of a sudden being at work is the best part of your day. And so that's how you get pulled in. That's why I'm saying like the trauma thing, maybe, but this is really, it's like on the go pill form therapy for you to just be able to get through your life easier. You know what I mean?
At what point do you realize that you're in trouble, if ever?
I would say, well, if you've never, if like a lot of people, they don't even realize, I mean, now I think people are more well educated, but people don't even realize that you like what it means to be hooked on them. Like they don't know. And like, so they don't realize, like, if you've been taking them for 6 straight weeks every day, you know, when you stop, you're going to get sick. Like you're going to get, and I mean, how sick you get is varying based on how much you were taking or how many you were taking and for how long. You know, if you're taking them for 6 weeks and you were taking a couple a day, you'll be fine. You'll be uncomfortable, but you'll be fine. If you were taking 15 a day for 6 months, you're going to hell. Like you're going through an experience that you will come out of so afraid of those pills that you won't touch them again for any reason. Like that, at least that was my experience.
Hold on, let me interrupt you there. So you mean, like, you've been taking 15, let's say you're somebody who's been taking 15 pill a days for 6 months, then for some reason they can't get those pills, they're gonna go through hell. Do you think after this they gonna rush to get more, or they just
you know what, that's a fair point. It completely depends. If they go through the hell because they realize their life is falling apart and they need to quit, and then they go through that hell, that, I mean, most people won't go near them. Like, I mean, just utterly won't go near them. Like for me, so like what happened with me was the situation I just literally laid out almost exactly. College, it was like whatever. And then I got done with college. I lived with a guy who's now dead from an opioid overdose. And that's how this happened. Like I got the wrong roommate. Like that's basically what happened. I ended up moving in with a dude that I knew. I didn't realize he had an incredibly strong drug problem, which ended up killing him only about a year ago. And I mean, you know, this is 2005. And then all of a sudden I had an unlimited supply. After about 8 months of living with him, I left. Like, I was just like, dude, I have to get out of this situation. I need to get away from this dude. I need to get away from these pills. Like, this is no good. And I moved to San Diego very, very soon, like maybe a month or two after I moved to San Diego. I quit cold turkey, and there's just no words to describe it. It's like, it is the worst. You talk to anyone who's ever gone through it and you go, what's the worst thing you've ever experienced in your life? 100% of them will say that. Will say, you know, quitting opioids cold turkey. It's the worst. I mean, it's indescribable. I mean, you feel like you have the flu, but 100 times worse. And then in addition to that, you can't, your nerves are on fire. Like your nerves are literally just on fire. So you can't sit still. Because one of the things that it did for me is I naturally have restless leg syndrome. Like I get really gnarly, like people who go like, oh, restless leg syndrome's made up. Bullshit.
Hey, explain what that is. I don't know.
It's if you look it up, it's RLS. So like, it's this feeling where you can't sit still, and not like you can't sit still, not like your brain, your muscles will just tense up and you're like, oh my gosh. And you feel like you have to move. And I'm not really, a drug that they prescribe to treat it is called Requip. And that's actually a Parkinson's disease drug that treats it. I don't take it because it gives me headaches, but one of the really kind of seductive things around the opioids is they 100% cure that. Like the RLS is just gone. Like it's, if you had no other considerations for a person's health and they had RLS, I mean, it is a 100% cure all. Like it's just gone. You're the most comfortable you've ever been all the time. So when you quit, your RLS that was so uncomfortable, multiply it by 1,000. It's like, I mean, I'm actually not exaggerating. You multiply it by 1,000. Like the only way that you can even get through it is if you lay in the shower and just let hot water pound on you. Is the only way that you can sit still at all. Is for some reason the heat kills your nerves a little bit. And then you get out of the shower and then you try to lay down as fast as you can because you might be able to get like 10 minutes sleep. Maybe you can sleep at like 10 minutes at a time at the most. And you won't sleep for a minute the entire, 4 days. And if you're able to fall asleep, you'll fall asleep, like I said, 10 minutes. and you'll wake up, and every time you wake up, you remember what's happening. Like you know, you were asleep for a second, then you wake up and you're like, oh my God. And I'm serious. Like I can't exaggerate what a person who knows what it's like would do to avoid it. And that is what keeps people hooked forever, is once they know, the fear of going through that again will keep them hooked forever. Like they want to quit more than anything in the world. There's nothing they want more than to quit. That literally nothing on earth that they want more except to avoid going through that. It's the only thing in the world they want more, is to avoid going through that experience again.
Oh, that's crazy, man.
That's opioid addiction right there.
That's crazy. And that's why so people got addicted and just couldn't.
They can't. It is, you're dooming yourself to, I mean, literally, like, think of, if someone was like, here, I'll give you $50 million, but what you have to do in order to get that 50 million is you need to go in and be chained to a chair and let a drug cartel torture you for 4 straight days. Are you taking that money? Like they're gonna remove your fingernails. They're gonna pound nails into your feet. Like God, you'll be fine. You'll be fine afterwards. But they're going to
that fantasies, man.
Yeah, but that is the choice. It's that bad. Like wow. Could you take being strapped to a chair and tortured for 4 days by a drug cartel? Because that's how bad it is.
Wow. So when you were going through that, did you have any family members who knew about it? Any close friends? Were you married already or not yet?
No. And like because again, I was ignorant. I had no I had Googled like what's it like when you quit and whatever, and so I knew it was going to last about 3 to 4 days. Like I knew that in advance. So I put myself in a position where I wouldn't be able to get more pills for that amount of time anyway. Like I trapped myself into it where there was not, once it started, there's no solution. Like you're going to have to go through it one way or the other. And I was just alone in my apartment in San Diego. And I thought like, I'll just tough it out. And probably 3 hours into it, I called my parents and I was like, and I just told them, and they flew down.
Wow.
But I mean, and then it's hard to even explain. Then I didn't go near those things for 4 or 5 years. Like I would have never taken one ever again in my life. And then I got a Pseudomonas infection in my eye that started eating through my retina, like one of the drug cartel torture. And I literally pushed a doctor up against a wall. Basically, I was like, you need to give me something for this pain. It was just utterly agonizing. And he wrote me a script for Vikes and then went through, I mean, not as bad as that time, but had to kick again, like had to, like those, that's the thing is anyone who's ever gotten addicted to them, you can't take them, dude. Like you can't take one, like you can't take a single one there. Your brain will literally remember and just boom, they'll build all the neural pathways again that'll make you not in control of your decision making.
So does it mean that you can't really take any pain pills like Adderall? Not Adderall. Is it Adderall or how you guys call it?
Adderall's a stimulant, not the same thing.
Okay, gotcha. So those ibuprofen, those
no, ibuprofen's fine.
Okay, it's just the strong ones that
just opioids.
Gotcha. Well, I mean, I didn't mean to spend so much time on this, but we might devote the whole podcast to discussing the stuff, which is worth it, man. Like
every time that I talk about it on the channel, I get literally like 1,000 comments from people who are dealing with it now, like who are still dealing with it. And it's like, and it's like being in prison. There's just no other way to describe it. They're like, I wish I could help all of them, but it's just a thing you have to just deal with on your own.
I remember you mentioned in one of your videos about this, like there was you had some sort of treatment in Mexico or something?
Yeah, I did Ibogaine.
Gotcha. So, I mean, for people who want to know, like there is a video I think you discussed in, right?
I did, and I might have did it live.
You did it live, yeah. Gotcha.
But yeah, like Ibogaine is basically like ayahuasca, very, very similar. You know, if you were going to go into it, it's like it's going to be a very long, heavy psychedelic thing. But for some reason, it has some kind of property that allows an addict to avoid going through withdrawal. So like so all the 3 days of torture that, you know, that I described, you don't go through that. Like you get to actually get off of opioids without going through the torture. And what's crazy is like, and it works, it 100% works. But the bigger part of it is the way that, you know, like, I don't know, different psychedelics will do different things to your brain. But this particular one is and it's the same for every single person. You spend the whole time auditing yourself. Like it is an experience that'll last 10 to 12, 13 hours. And it's all about you. Like it's just about you. The whole thing is like an audit of your life. And it's hard to even think about those two things going together without really having to question the nature of the reality that you live in, where it's like, wait, so it's a psychedelic. And for every single person, the whole entire experience is just an audit of yourself. And it lets you avoid drug addiction, like withdrawal. I don't know. I mean, it's I could tell you from 100% experience, it works. It really does. And like, but what's funny is I hear people, because of like all the talk about ayahuasca, and people are like, oh, you know, I want to do an ayahuasca trip. I think people are going to think that like doing the Ibogaine experience is going to be like fun. Shit's not fucking fun, man. There is nothing fun about it. It is.
You're kind of looking deep inside yourself and find a lot of stuff you don't want to admit, right? Is it
it's
thing?
that. And see, that's actually, that's what a lot of people who have done it, I've talked to, like, you know, without betraying any confidences here, I just won't say who said what, but like
Sure.
One guy that I know very well told me that when he did it, he learned that the reason he used drugs is because he hated himself. He was like, I hated myself. And I was like, fuck, man. Like, I don't even know how to I don't even really understand what that means, but obviously he does. Another guy that was down there when I did it, he was like, he said the whole entire time was this like push and pull between these two versions of himself, you know, one that's optimistic, the other one that's pessimistic, and then how he reacts to those different things. And so, you know, and then I talked to some other guys. I mean, literally was all about this internal thing. Mine was very simple. Like there was no like, we need to pull out all this whatever. Mine was literally like, your decision-making process is reckless beyond belief. You are short-sighted. You're taking astronomical risks without considering what happens if something bad, you know, something goes bad. You're going to burn yourself out. It was all about how short-term my decision-making is. So it was just like instant gratification, not at all. Where are you looking? What are you going to be doing in 5 years? What are you doing in 10 years based on these decisions that you're making? That was the whole thing. Like the whole entire thing was just different parts of my life, examining it through that lens.
Instant gratification, you meaning that taking the drug to relieve yourself from pain, or anything else in life?
Okay. Anything. If there's something in front of me that I want, I just take it. Like I just, you know, and I'm saying like, well, here, this will be awesome for the next 2 hours. It's like, cool. And I'll just do whatever that thing is, without being like, what are you actually risking when you do that? Like what, you know, and then, yeah.
But isn't it like it's a trait of your personality in general, or it was?
It is, but it doesn't mean that you can't be aware of it and control it.
Okay.
You know, it's like, it's just like one extra step. And since then, my like my life has changed dramatically since then, like and it's because of that, where it was like, so it's hard to explain the experience itself because psychedelics are completely unexplainable to someone who's never done them. But I was able to live in the experience of what happens if these decisions go bad. So it's like, once you felt the ramifications of some stupid fucking thing that you're doing, and then you're like, this is what happens if this goes bad, and you've actually sat in it, you've lived that life for even a short period of time, you're like, well, that's never happening again. I'll never take that risk ever again, you know?
Yeah.
But I mean, you know, I'm just a lot more comfortable in my own life now too. Like I really genuinely, like I like my life. I felt there was a long time when I felt kind of trapped by being married and trapped by having kids, and I love it now. Like I genuinely love it.
And you're not taking pills, right? Because sounds
no
like
pills. No.
Because sounds
no
like
fucking pills.
That's good, and you have a fantastic family, and you're pretty open about the stuff, and it's great. You know, it's funny. Like I wanted this to be MMA podcast, MMA episode, but I'm actually gonna put it somewhere else in my other channel because we almost didn't touch about MMA, and we're almost on top of the hour, and I don't want to take much of your time. But I think that's a great episode for people who go through addictions or who might know somebody who goes through addiction.